Imagine your company just rolled out like a massive, highly complex new software system.
Oh boy.
Right. We are talking about a complete operational overhaul of how you do your job every single day.
Yeah.
And on Monday morning, you log in, and the only training manual provided to you is the exact same highly technical documentation used by the software's original engineer.
Well, the immediate result of that scenario is just universal panic. I
Exactly.
mean, you are essentially asking a frontline worker to read API documentation just to figure out how to, approve a basic invoice. It guarantees a failed rollout.
Right, because providing access to information is fundamentally different from providing access to usable knowledge.
Yes.
If you hand someone a dictionary, you haven't really taught them how to speak a language.
No, you definitely haven't.
So today, we are doing a deep dive into the actual mechanics of how people absorb new technology. We have our hands on a really fascinating recent report. Specifically, it's the D5.4 report from a European Union-funded initiative called the HumAIne Project.
Right, the HumAIne project.
Yeah. And they are building these hybrid human-AI collaboration systems, but our focus today is on a massive realization they had about how their learning center actually delivers training.
And, the stakes here are universally applicable.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you are managing a team through a digital transition, or if you are just a professional trying to adapt to new tools being pushed on you, this documentation reveals why the methodology of teaching AI is often like the single point of failure.
So it's not just the tech itself.
No, not at all. The HumAIne project aims to integrate trustworthy AI into really dynamic, high-stakes environments. So think healthcare triage, smart city energy grids, heavy manufacturing, that kind of thing.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and to make that happen, they built a central digital hub for training.
So they are tasked with teaching incredibly advanced high-stakes technology to a massive variety of people, right? Like ranging from the data scientists who are building the algorithms all the way to the nurses and factory workers who are actually interacting with the screens.
Exactly. Which brings us to the core problem they ran into.
Okay, what happened?
Well, the D5.4 report details a complete reversal in their methodology.
Hmm.
In their earlier phase, the D5.3 phase, they operated on an assumption that seems, incredibly logical from an efficiency standpoint.
Which was?
They built a single, unified catalog of training resources.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they just put everything from deep dives into swarm learning all the way down to the legal frameworks of the EU AI Act into one massive library, assuming it would serve everyone from a system integrator to a municipal office worker.
Wow. I mean, walking into that portal must feel like walking into a massive university library because you want to learn how to change a flat tire, right?
Right.
And the librarian just points to the engineering wing and says, hey, good luck. The physics of rubber friction are in there somewhere.
That is exactly what it felt like.
Like, it is technically all there, but it's functionally useless to the person holding the wrench.
That's a great analogy. And the internal feedback from their initial testing proved exactly that. Attempting to serve everyone with identical material actively compromised usability across the board.
How so?
Well, the highly technical users, like the machine learning engineers, they found the generic overviews patronizing and shallow.
Sure.
They needed, code-level detail and deployment architectures.
Mm.
But the reaction from the operational workers was much more severe.
What happened with them?
Encountering those highly technical resources triggered what the report formally identifies as information overload and usability anxiety.
Okay, wait. I want to challenge the mechanics of that failure, though,
Right.
because we live in the era of Google, right? Isn't the whole point of a digital hub to put everything in one centralized place and just let the user filter it?
You would think so?
Like, why not just build a robust search bar? Let the factory worker filter out the coding tutorials and let the developer filter out the basic introductions.
Well, relying on self-filtering fundamentally misunderstands the context of these deployments.
How do you mean?
We are talking about high-stakes operational environments here. If a worker managing a city's energy network is forced to sift through, like, abstract theoretical frameworks just to find a basic operational answer, you are introducing friction.
Right. Time is of the essence.
Exactly. And friction in high-stress environments doesn't just waste time. It actively erodes the user's confidence in the system itself. Usability anxiety directly translates into a lack of trust.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and if the human does not trust the AI, the collaboration breaks down entirely, and the AI's recommendations will simply be ignored.
Which completely defeats the purpose of the millions of euros spent building it.
Precisely.
So to fix that trust issue, the HumAIne team had to completely pivot their strategy, right?
They did.
They moved away from this unified library and adopted a modular, persona-driven approach.
Yeah, exactly.
They mapped out specific learner personas to understand not just what each user needed to know, but crucially, what they needed to be shielded from.
And the contrast between these personas are really revealing.
Let's hear them.
Consider the persona they call T1, the AI developer. This represents the machine learning engineers working directly on the back end. A broad narrative video explaining the general benefits of artificial intelligence is a complete waste of their time.
Right, they already know that.
Exactly. They require hands-on technical labs. They are looking for reproducible code examples, system integration paths, and deep dives into really advanced architectures. For instance, the source material notes they need training on deploying neurosymbolic AI.
Okay, let's pause right there.
Yeah.
Because if I am a worker and I see neurosymbolic AI on a training portal, my brain immediately shuts down.
Yeah, as it probably should.
So, for the sake of the listener, what is the underlying mechanism there? What actually is that?
Well, think of it as combining two completely different types of intelligence. Neural networks, which power things like ChatGPT or image recognition, are really great at pattern matching, almost like human intuition.
Right, okay.
But they struggle with strict logic and, they can hallucinate.
Yeah, we've all seen that.
Right. Symbolic AI, on the other hand, is the older school of AI based on strict, hard-coded logic and rules.
Got it.
So neurosymbolic AI fuses them together. It uses the neural network to perceive the messy real world and the symbolic AI to apply strict logical rules to what it sees.
Wow, okay.
It's highly complex, which is exactly why the developer needs deep architectural training to implement it safely.
But then you look at the other side of the spectrum. They mapped out persona N1, the pilot worker.
Yes, the N1 persona.
And this is the person on the front line actually interacting with the AI's outputs. And the report makes a fascinating observation here. For this worker, teaching them algorithms is actively harmful to the learning process.
Yeah, it really is. Teaching the underlying math to the frontline operator just triggers that usability anxiety we discussed earlier.
Right.
The pilot worker's primary goal is practical execution. They just need to use the platform interfaces confidently, evaluate the AI's recommendations safely, and avoid operational errors.
You know, the psychological framing here is what makes this so applicable. The Learning Center treats cognitive load as its primary design challenge.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of how a computer uses RAM. Your working memory is basically your brain's RAM.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. And if a frontline nurse is looking at an AI diagnostic tool, and the interface or the training manual takes up 90% of their mental RAM just to figure out what the buttons do.
They have nothing left for the patient.
Exactly. They only have 10% of their cognitive capacity left to actually evaluate the patient. The tool becomes a hindrance.
Which is exactly why the training for the pilot worker strips away every single piece of technical jargon.
They just get rid of it.
Yep. The goal is no longer technical mastery. The goal is psychological reassurance.
Interesting.
They achieve this through short, scenario-based videos and visual demonstrations of the interface. They're basically defining competence differently based on the role.
How so?
Well, competence for the developer is building a robust system. Competence for the pilot worker is interacting with that system without hesitation or fear.
Wow. And this realization forced them to physically split their curriculum into two completely separate tracks, right? They just stopped trying to put everyone in the same classroom.
They had to.
So there's the technical track, which is called Engineering Human AI Systems, and that focuses entirely on platform architecture and system orchestration.
Right, that covers 7 very technical modules.
But the non-technical track, which is empowering workers in human AI collaboration, takes a wildly different approach.
Oh, completely different.
They don't just teach the software, they actively work to dismantle the mystique around the technology.
Yeah, the non-technical curriculum relies heavily on relatable narratives.
Like what?
Well, instead of explaining the mathematical weights of a neural network, they explain how user feedback impacts system suggestions using a concrete example from, say, a factory floor.
That makes so much more sense.
Right. They walk the worker through how to read the screen, how to interpret a decision prompt, and how to input instructions without feeling completely overwhelmed.
This brings us to a really brilliant design choice in how they handle shared knowledge. Because even with two separate tracks, there are foundational concepts everyone has to learn, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Specifically, both the developers and the frontline workers have to understand the ethical and regulatory rules, like the EU AI Act.
Right, you can't skip compliance.
But the way they teach the exact same law to these two different groups is entirely distinct.
It is. The technical developers receive training on ethics by design.
Okay.
They learn the nuts and bolts of building transparency into the code itself.
So, practical application.
Exactly. They are taught how to construct audit trails,
Mhm.
implement bias monitoring algorithms, and set up technical governance mechanisms so the software legally complies with those regulations.
But when the frontline pilot worker takes their compliance training, they are not learning how to code an audit trail.
No, of course not.
They are learning about their own digital rights in the workplace.
Yes.
They are taught that they have the right to request an explanation for an AI-generated decision. They learn how their privacy is protected. And most importantly, they are explicitly trained on their capacity to refuse unsafe AI instructions.
Which is a massive shift in perspective.
Wait, I have to stop you there. We are talking about a project spending millions of euros to build and deploy these advanced AI decision support systems, and the capstone of their worker training is teaching the staff how to ignore the AI.
Well, essentially, yes.
Doesn't that completely undermine the investment? Like, why deploy an AI if you are training the humans to override it?
Because an AI decision support system in a high-stakes environment is a co-pilot, not an autopilot.
Oh, a co-pilot. Okay.
Right. The HumAIne project operates on a philosophy called human in command. You cannot simply drop an algorithmic system into a hospital or a power grid and assume it will handle every single edge case flawlessly.
Because it won't.
Exactly. The AI processes vast amounts of data to make a recommendation, but it completely lacks real-world contextual awareness.
Give me an example of that.
Okay, so if a smart city traffic AI suggests rerouting ambulances down a specific street.
Based on traffic data.
Right, based on traffic data. But the human operator knows a water main just broke on that street 5 minutes ago.
Oh, wow.
The human must have the confidence and the systemic authority to override the machine.
So the training isn't just about software features. It is about establishing a socio-technical hierarchy.
Exactly.
The worker has to know that the machine works for them, not the other way around.
Yes.
Because if they don't explicitly know they have the right to override the system, they might just blindly follow a flawed recommendation just because a computer said so.
And we've seen that happen in real life.
Yeah.
Fostering that specific dynamic requires a highly tailored educational approach. You are cultivating an environment where the machine's design is transparent enough to be audited by the developer. But its interface and training are intuitive enough to keep the human operator firmly in control.
So tying this all back, if you are leading a team, deploying new software, or even just trying to get your colleagues to adopt a new workflow, the evolution of the HumAIne Learning Center offers a real blueprint.
It absolutely does.
They started with a unified library that technically contained all the right information, but it failed completely because it ignored the psychological reality of the people using it.
Yeah, they learned the hard way.
And they succeeded only when they realized that technology adoption is essentially an exercise in translation.
That's a perfect way to summarize it. You have to translate the capability of the tool into the specific daily reality of the user.
Yeah.
Shielding your team from irrelevant complexity is honestly just as important as giving them access to the necessary information.
Because your team's cognitive load is the ultimate bottleneck for any digital transformation. If you hand an operator a developer's manual, you aren't empowering them, you are paralyzing them.
You're just setting them up to fail. And, looking at how meticulously HumAIne had to tailor this training to accommodate human cognitive limits, it does raise a really compelling question about the future of these hybrid systems.
Oh, what's that?
Well, right now, we spend massive amounts of resources training humans to understand and collaborate with AI platforms, right?
Okay.
We build these complex personas and customized modules just to make the software digestible.
Yeah, we are bending over backwards to adapt the material to fit our brains.
Exactly. But as the AI models themselves become more contextually aware, the dynamic might inview entirely.
What do you mean by invert?
We may soon see systems designed to actively monitor the human's cognitive load in real time.
Wait, really? Like reading our minds?
Well, not reading minds, but analyzing behavior. Imagine an interface that senses when an operator's inputs are slowing down, indicating usability anxiety, and automatically simplifies its own dashboard.
Oh, wow.
Or a system that detects the developer probing deeply into an architecture and instantly surfaces the relevant technical documentation without being asked.
That is wild.
Right. We are currently figuring out how to teach humans to accommodate the AI, but the next frontier is building AI that learns how to accommodate you.